everyone, so today's video is going to be a special video for Valentine's Day. Now I'm not going to be uploading this on Valentine's Day because I always upload on Friday, and Valentine's Day doesn't fall on a Friday this year, so this will be like a little bit before Valentine's Day so that you guys are prepared for Valentine's Day with some great book recommendations. Now I know that a lot of people usually give like romance book recommendations for Valentine's Day, but I'm gonna do the exact opposite of that. I'm gonna talk to you guys today about books that I've already read, with one exception that I haven't read yet, of books that have basically no romance in it. And I know that that's a very weird video to post for Valentine's Day, but I feel like I can't be like the only person who doesn't like reading romance books around Valentine's Day because it makes me sad. So yeah, if you're similar to me, then here are some book recommendations with either no romance or just a little bit of romance, but it's not the main plot at all. So yeah, let's just get into the book recommendations. Also, I'm really sorry if you can hear the construction work that's happening outside. They're basically like doing construction work like 24/7. So yeah, I'm sorry if you can hear it. The first book on this list is Punching the Air. This is a book written in verse, and because of that, it's a very fast read, but it's also a very beautiful read in my opinion. I'm not really someone who usually likes reading books in verse, but something like this I really enjoy reading. It's really good in my opinion. It's all about a 16-year-old boy who gets sent to prison for a crime that he didn't commit. So obviously romance is not the main plot of this book at all. I don't think I've ever actually talked about this book on my channel before, because I think I read it before I made my channel. But yeah, this is definitely one of the books that I want to reread someday. And obviously because it has zero romance, this is a good book to put on this list. So yeah. Then the next book on this list is a book that I've definitely talked about too much on this channel at this point, but this is my channel and I talk about the books I want to talk about, so I'm not going to stop talking about it, and that book is A Kind of Spark. Now this book also has zero romance. It's a middle grade book about this girl who finds out all about the witches that lived in her town. And the reason why I say witches, it's because a lot of the time when you look at descriptions of what witches were back then, they were mainly just neurodivergent women, mainly autistic women. And so the main character, who is also autistic, finds out about that and realizes that she probably would have been seen as a witch, and she probably would have been, you know, unalived if she was alive back then. And that's obviously a very hard thing to deal with, especially for like, I don't know how old she is, I think like 12, 13. And for me, reading that as someone who's like in my 20s, like that was already difficult to deal with. But, you know, just imagine what like a 12-year-old girl would feel about it. So yeah, it's all about that and more, obviously. It has, again, zero romance, so it's perfect for this list. And let's just move on. But by move on, I obviously mean talk about the other book by this author, and that is Show Us Who You Are. Now this is, like I already said, by the same author as the previous book. This is also a middle grade, and it also has, again, obviously by the title of this video, it has zero romance in it. When I was reading it, I for a second thought that they would add romance, and I was like, oh no, are they gonna make romance like a part of the plot? But they didn't, and I was very happy about that. I really like this book. The premise of this book is basically about this girl who is autistic, just like the main character in the previous book, and she finds out some very interesting stuff about a company, and basically it's all about that. It deals very harshly with like eugenics and ableism, so be careful when you go into this book. Like A Kind of Spark, the book I showed earlier, that book also deals with ableism, but I feel like this book deals with it a lot harder. So just be a bit careful when you go into this book, because I know that it's a middle grade, but it still made me like bawl my eyes out, and it made me uncomfortable at certain points. So just be aware that it deals with some very heavy topics, but none of those topics are romance. So yeah, this is a great book to read when you don't want to read romance around Valentine's Day, obviously. I feel like I should probably stop mentioning that because I think at this point people know that this video is all about books with either no romance or just a little bit of romance. So yeah, I'm gonna stop mentioning it now, I think. Then the next book on this list is Forgive Me, Leonard, Peacock. Now this deals with some very heavy topics. It was very difficult for me to get through this book. But again, none of those topics are romance. So yeah, I'm still putting it on this list. I know that so far a lot of these books are like a bit sad or like a lot sad and upsetting, but I feel like there's not really a lot of books that I've personally read that have like no romance and are like happy books. So yeah, maybe that's just me really liking sad books. But yeah, like I basically already said in the beginning of this video, this is all about books that I've personally already read, except for one that I know have no romance or just a little bit of romance. So yeah, again, maybe that's just because I like sad books. But yeah, this book has a lot of trigger warnings, and because of that I can't really talk about it too much. But yeah, just look up the trigger warnings, look up the description, and see if you want to read it. It has no romance, so you know, see if you want to read it, I guess. Then the next book on this list is Challenger Deep. Now this book is, in my opinion, very nicely written, and written in a way that feels very like out of this world almost. But again, it does deal with some quite heavy stuff, especially surrounding mental health. So yeah, again, look up the trigger warnings. I'm not gonna say like the plot of this book because I feel like that spoils it a bit. I feel like it's better for this book to like go in almost blind, like know the trigger warnings, but about the story just basically go in a bit blind. So yeah, like this book also has zero romance. There is like a slight like love interest in the book, but that doesn't get explored at all, and I think the love interest only gets talked about like twice. Like it's definitely not the main plot of the story. So yeah, the next book on this list is also a book I've talked about quite a lot in the last couple months after I reread it, and that is A Monster Calls. Now, I'm not going to talk about this book too much because again, I've talked about it a lot, and I'm pretty sure people know about this book because it had like a movie as well. I've never watched it, but yeah, it's very popular. It's very like, you know, people know about it, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But yeah, this book once again deals with some very heavy topics. I bawl my eyes out every single time I reread it, and I've reread it like 5 times at this point. So yeah, it's very sad, but no romance at all. There is again like maybe a slight love interest, but again, doesn't get explored at all. It barely gets talked about. It barely gets mentioned. It's definitely not the main plot. So yeah, again, deals with some very heavy topics. Would recommend looking up the trigger warnings, because otherwise you're gonna be a bit caught off guard, and you're probably gonna cry more than me, which if you can do that, that's honestly like an achievement. Like you should applaud yourself for that. But yeah, again, very sad book, but no romance seems to be a theme in this video. Again, maybe because I just like sad books, but yeah, let's just move on to the next book. Then the next book is slightly less sad. I don't know exactly how much less sad it is because I read it a couple years ago, but it is a little bit less sad, but it is quite hopeful, I think, or that's at least what people say. I do need to reread this book because I don't know how much I'm gonna like it now that I'm aware of the fact that I'm disabled, and this does have disability representation. So yeah, I should probably like reread it sometime soon, but I don't feel like it. So yeah, the book that I'm talking about is Wonder. This is again a book that is very well known. It had a movie where an able-bodied person played a disabled character, which you know how I feel about that, or maybe you don't. I don't like it, by the way. But yeah, I haven't watched the movie. I just know that it was like an able-bodied person that played the main character. So yeah, this book, again, from what I remember, has, I think, a little bit of romance, but not a lot. I might be wrong and it might not have like any romance, but I cannot be like 100% sure. But yeah, if there is romance in this book, it's definitely not the main plot. The disabled main character going to school and dealing with like ableist kids who are like his classmates is definitely like the main plot of this book, I think. But yeah, again, I don't know how good this book is because I read it before that I knew that I was disabled, so I don't know how I would feel about it now. But yeah, if you haven't read this book at this point, then try reading it and see how you feel about it, I guess. So I am now going to talk about the rest of these books a bit faster because I think my dad is about to come home and I also don't really feel that well. So I am going to, again, go through the last of these books a bit faster. I hope you guys don't mind that. But yeah, I am going to go through these next books a bit faster. So the next book on this list is Everything I Never Told You. If you've watched my Best Books of 2021 video, which I'll link here, you know that I really like this book. It has a little bit of romance, but again, it's not the main plot at all. The main plot is much more devastating, and it's very sad, and it made me cry a lot. So again, if you, like me, really like sad books that don't really have a lot of romance, this book is a great option for that. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Like I said, I've talked about this book quite a lot, so I'm not going to talk about it much more. But again, basically no romance, but it is very sad. The next book is a very popular book, and that is because there is a very popular movie for it, and that is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Now, if you know anything about this story, you know that there is romance, but again, not the main plot at all. The main plot, once again, a lot more devastating than romance. It does deal with romance just a little bit more than the other books on this list, but again, it's not the main plot. It's also, again, very well known, so I'm not going to talk about this book much longer because people already know what this is about, probably. But yeah, I do really love this book, despite like how popular it is. Like, I feel like it's a very good book. I like to reread it whenever I'm in a reading slump, which I probably shouldn't do that because despite how short it might be, it is very devastating. So maybe I should stop rereading it. But yeah, I just like rereading it for some reason. But yeah, again, deals with romance just a little bit more than the other books on this list, but it is not the main plot. The next book on this list is also very well known, and there's also a movie about it, but I think the book is actually more popular than the movie. I might be wrong, but I hear a lot of people say that they've read the book but not watched the movie, so yeah, I think the movie is less popular than the book for once, which is very interesting. But yeah, the book that I'm talking about is The Book Thief. Now, obviously, the second I say this title, you're gonna be like, yeah, obviously that book doesn't have romance as the main plot, which I'm just pointing it out. This is a book that doesn't have romance as the main plot. You could read it. I mean, yeah, it's very devastating and also very long, but it's very good. Like, you could read it for Valentine's Day. I'm not stopping you. Is it going to be a bit of an interesting decision? Yes. But I mean, you could. Like, again, nobody's stopping you. But yeah, not going to talk about this book much longer because, again, I'm trying to speed my way through the rest of these books, but also because everyone knows what this book is about, so I don't need to give a synopsis. So yeah, no romance. Then the next book on this list also has a movie, but with this one, I'm definitely sure that the movie is more popular than the book. I actually also think I like the movie better, even though I haven't watched it in like years. I do think the movie is probably better because I feel like the way that this book is written can be a bit like, it can take you out a bit, whereas like the movie, it's more like fluid, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, this book is still definitely good and I do recommend it, and that book is Speak. Now, obviously, like, you might either recognize this book or you might not, but I think you will probably recognize like the movie, like it's this one. I hope I can find like a movie poster of it that looks very recognizable. But yeah, it's this one. I think people probably know because of the main actress that plays in it. But yeah, this book is very devastating to read. It's very sad. Because of the topic, if you've watched the movie, you know what the topic is. I don't think I can say it out loud because I don't think YouTube likes that. But yeah, romance is definitely not the main plot of this book. It does play a role in the book, but it's not the main plot. So yeah, Like if you've watched the movie or read the book, you probably know what I mean by that. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about this book for much longer. People hopefully know what it's about. I would also like everyone to just appreciate how nice these like tabs look with this book. Like I've always liked the way that that looked. So yeah, just, you know, look at it. Anyway, moving on to the last book on this list. So the last book on this list is the only book on this list that I haven't read yet. And the reason why I added to this list anyway is because whenever you search up like books with zero romance, you always get this book as a result. And so I was like, I own it and I will probably read it someday. So might as well add it to this list because again, everyone always mentions this book. So I'm just gonna add it on here even though I cannot give you a synopsis of this book at all because I don't know what it's about other than the fact that it doesn't have any romance. And that book is This Savage Song. Now, obviously this author is very popular, and again, all that I know about this book is that this duology, because it has 2 books, this duology does not have any romance, and that's it. Like, I also know it's about monsters, I think, and I'm pretty sure the main characters are male and female, but they don't get paired up, which I like the idea of that. Like, you know, just having, you know, main characters that most people would be like, they're in a relationship and then you don't make them fall in love. I like the idea of that. But so we are now about a week later from when I filmed the last clip that you just saw. And in that clip, you can probably also see at the end that my dad comes home. For some reason, my dad's schedule has changed in the last couple days. And because of that, as you can tell, I can't film properly because he keeps coming home as I'm filming. And usually he comes home like right when I stop filming. And this time he came home just a little bit earlier, so I couldn't finish in time. So this is me finishing the video like a week later. I don't remember what I was saying in the last clip. All I know was that I was holding up This Savage Song, but that book is now back in my bookshelf because it's been a week since then. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, I guess. It's really weird to like film an ending clip like out of the blue, but yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have a nice Valentine's Day, even if you don't want to read romance books like me. So this is the end of the video, I guess. I don't know what else to say really because again, it's been a week since I filmed the last clip, so I don't know what else I wanted to say, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video and thank you guys for like supporting my channel. I really appreciate it, and bye.